In lesson 3-4, we're going to work on fractions on a number line. So you will need your whiteboard marker, and your journal. I will tell you that in your math journal, at the very back, there is a fraction number lines poster. It says that may come in useful when you are doing this work today. So on your whiteboard, you are going to go ahead and do our warm-up for today. In each case, you're going to write the situation as a fraction. So let me show you number 1. 1 fruit bar shared by 3 people would look like 1/3. 1 stick of clay shared by 4 people would be 1/4. And 1 watermelon shared by 12 people would be 1/12. So now that I've shown you 3 of them, I'm going to have you go ahead and number 1, 2, and 3. This is just like the previous one, except for it's using different numbers. Go ahead and figure out what a fraction would look like with 3 containers of paint shared by 10 people, 2 cartons of orange juice shared by 9 people, and 6 apples shared by 8 people. Pause your video and write down the answer. So 3 containers of paint shared by 10 people would be 3/10. 2 cartons of orange juice shared by 9 people would be 2/9. You can write the fraction this way as well. 6 apples shared by 8 people, 6/8. And one more set of problems like this, number 1, 2, and 3. 5 packages of baby carrots shared by 4 people. 3 teaspoons of salt used in 2 batches of bread, and 10 yards of paper for 3 banners. Pause your video. 5 packages of baby carrots shared by 4 people would be 5/4. Notice the numerator is larger than the denominator, so this is going to equal more than 1 bag per person. Number 2, 3 teaspoons of salt used in 2 batches of bread, so 3 halves. Again, the numerator is larger than the denominator, so it's greater than 1 whole. And 10 yards of paper for 3 banners would be 10/3, and again, greater than 1. It says, Ida, Nathan, and Janice were running at track practice. After 12 minutes, Ida had run 1.5 miles, Nathan had run 3/2 miles, and Janice had run 3/4 of a mile. Mark the number line below to show where each runner was after 12 minutes. Be as precise as you can. Well, this is a warm-up problem, but label each mark with the runner's name. So would you please draw a number line? Put an arrow which indicates it goes on in both directions. Mark the left side 0, the right side 2, and about halfway with the number 1. Now, Ida had run 1.5, so it's more than 1, less than 2, halfway between there. So go ahead and write 1.5, and let's write Ida. Okay, so we're done with Ida. I'm going to leave Nathan for a minute. Janice had run 3/4 of a mile. I know that Janice, when the numerator is smaller than the denominator, it's less than 1 whole. So Janice has to be 3/4. So in my mind, I'm going to think, okay, let me redraw this here. I'm going to think, okay, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. She would be about right here, 3/4 of a mile. Janice, go ahead and write that in your whiteboard. More than a half, less than 1 whole. And lastly, Nathan had run 3/2. So if I look at 3/2, 3/2, that is greater than 1. So watch what I can do. How many 2's are there in 3? Well, there's 1 with 1 as a remainder. That's written at the top of the fraction, and 2 is written on the bottom. So it would be the same as 1/2. So this would be Nathan, 1 and 1/2. So he and Ida ran the same. Let's go ahead and take this information into our math journal, starting on page 80. Would you please open to page 80? You are going to fill this out as you are watching the video. Here's the information that we just completed on the previous screen. It says use the number line for the math message. We just did that, but if you want to go ahead and put that in there, remember Nathan was at 3/2. And let's see, Ida was at 1.5. 1.5 and 3/2 are the same. And then Janice was 3/4. So more than half, but less than 1 whole. Now, we put those on our number line on page 80, and you're doing the same thing. Now, it says Gary ran 1 2/3 and Lena ran 7/6 mile. Who ran further? Use the number lines below to help you answer the question. It says divide this number line to show thirds. So here we go. Thirds. Be careful when you do this. Remember, not 3 lines, but 3 equal segments. 1, 2, 3. Label each with a tick mark. So here's my tick mark. This would be 1/3, 2/3. Another way to say 1 whole is 3/3. And the top number and the bottom number are the same. Then I'm going to do the same thing between 1 and 2. This would be 1 1/3, 1 2/3, and 1 3/3 would be the same as 2. Now I'm going to put Gary on there first because Gary's in thirds. So this would be Gary. Go ahead and make a dot and write Gary's name. For the next one, I'm going to show 6. 6 equal segments. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equal segments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 lines actually divides into 6 segments. Now I'm going to go ahead and number them using fractions. 1 6, 2 6, 3 6, 4 6. Please do this in your math journal with me. Whoops. 4 6, 5 6. 6 6 is the same as 1 whole. 7 6, 8 6, 9 6, 10 6, 11 6. And this would be 12 6, which is equal to 2. And the reason I kept it 6 is because Lena's does not use a mixed number, whole number plus a fraction. So Lena, let's go ahead and put Lena at 7 6. Go ahead and draw a dot and write Lena. So who ran further? Lena or Gary? Gary ran further. It's easy to see that on a number line. Let's continue on. Number 3. Which number is greater? Circle the greater number in each pair. Use the fraction number lines poster or fraction circle pieces to help you. So this is what the back of your math journal cover looks like. So if you can't see it really well, go ahead and open up your math journal and flip it to the very back. So either 5/8 or 9/10. So what I'm going to do is look for the line that has 8s, which is this one. So I'm going to make a dot at 5/8. And then I'm comparing that to 9/10. So I use this one down here, 9/10. Which is larger? 9/10. Okay, let's find 5/3. Here's the fraction in thirds. 5/3 would be here. The next one is 1 5/6. Here's the one divided into 6. 5/6. 1 5/6. Well, here's 1 whole, right? 6 6 would equal 1 whole. And then I'll just count up from there. 1 1 6, 1 2 6, 1 3 6, 1 4 6, 1 5 6. So 1 5/6 is the same as 11/6. which is larger? Well, if I go up in a number line in a straight line, the purple dot is larger than the red one. So 1 5/6 is larger. C, 2 1/4 or 20/12. So I'm going to go ahead and mark the one that is fourths. Again, remember this is also in the back of your math journal. So fourths. So 2 1/4. Well, here would be 1 whole. Here would be 2. 2 1/4 would actually be after this point. And 20/12 would be down here where the 12ths are. 20/12 is here. So which is further along on the number line? 2 1/4. D, letter D, 9/6. So I'm looking at the one with 6. 9/6 is right here. And 13/12. Back to the 12ths, 13/12, which is greater than 9/6. Moving on to your next journal page, which is page 81. Continuing on page 81. Rachel and Dan are growing plants in science class. Rachel reports that her plant is 1 1/4 inches tall. Dan says his plant is 5/2 inches tall. Whose plant is taller? Well, we could use our number line. We also can use division. So if I take 5/2, I would ask myself, how many 2's are there in 5? Well, it goes in there twice. 2 times 2 is 4. My remainder goes the top of my fraction, and the divisor goes down on the bottom as the denominator. So 5/2 is the same as 2 1/2. So which is larger or taller? Rachel's at 1 1/4 or Dan's at 2 1/2? Dan's is taller. How do I know? Well, I just showed it right here. I changed that improper fraction where the top number is larger than the bottom to a mixed number. If I were to show that on my number line, Dan's was 5/2, which would be even further on that number line. There's 4/2, 5/2. That would be Dan's, and Rachel's is 1 1/4. So here's 1. Here would be 1 1/4. So that's where they would be on the number line.